Well, I was probably, I think, one of the few British YouTubers. Obviously, I've said before, American politics isn't my bat and ball, as we say. Um, I'm more first closely follow, UK politics, but I keep an eye on what's going on across the pond because, it can be quite important what goes on there can end up, affecting us. So I was very, very much sure. And even on, you know, on Geoscope, on Politics Social, I was very, very much standing up for Biden. I still do think that Biden could have won against Donald Trump. Uh, Obviously, he stood down. That's fine. I think Kamala Harris, by the looks of it, really energizing now. A lot of people, you've seen the enthusiasm, you've seen the huge amounts of donations she's got in. Um, We've seen Waltz now, her VP pick, energizing that as well. People very excited for him to have to be the VP. But now it's really the question of the Kamala momentum has built to where this is now looking more and more likely. This is probably what could happen or what people thought would happen in 2016, where Hillary Clinton was just going to absolutely walk it against Trump. Well, um, looks like again, don't want to jinx it or anything like that. Cross fingers, etc. Touch wood and all that. Really, really does look like the Democrats are going to go into this race, and certainly we'll also be seeing what happens where we see where we see Harris and Waltz put forward their policy plan, like what is it they intend to do. That's something I think also a lot of people are now really excited to see this duo put forward. Meanwhile, of course, what happens to Trump and the MAGA crew? Well, I think that is also a pretty important conversation. So before we do go getting into that, please do remember to click on the like, share, the subscribe button. There is the Patreon page down below. There's the one-off station link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. There's the YouTube thank you button. And of course, as always, there's the Pony Club as well. You can sign up to as well. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel. Even if you do, just click the like and share button. So let's crack on then into this. Yeah, what is going to happen to Trump and MAGA? And I generally say this now. I think that they are done. Trump, I think's done. MAGA will become a spent and I think dying force in the Republican Party. Honestly, I generally think that's what's going to happen. But before we get more into talking about that, because I think you've got to sort of separate the two, what's going to happen with Trump? Well, first of all, remember, even if it was still Biden, Trump going into this race has a myriad of problems. We did a whole video covering like all these problems that Trump's got to, still solve going into this election. There's the court cases. There's GOP bankruptcy being in, several of the key swing states he's got to win. There's all kinds of things. There's problems of the fact that they can't even get, teams together on the ground in some of these states to get out and do phone banking, door knocking, etc. That is a significant problem. And if you don't believe me, look what happened to the Conservative Party at our recent elections. They had the same problem. Remember, you had Miriam Cates having to get people all the way up to London because none of the local Conservatives wanted to go out and door knock, phone bank, etc. for her. Not only that, you had the CCHQ not put money into these campaigns, not give resources of time, money, and people to certain candidates because, well, we don't think we're going to win your seats, so we're not going to put any money into your campaign. That had a big, big impact on our recent election. So make no mistake, when it comes to November, that will also have a huge impact on the Republicans' ability to campaign. So that is a huge problem for him. the bankruptcy problems we've mentioned again. 3 of the states, I think it's Arizona, the GOP having to sell their HQ. Not only that, part of the reason why the GOP is in such a bad financial state, they opened up their coffers to help defend Trump from all those legal cases. What does the rest of the GOP, the people who fund the GOP, then think of Trump, who went on to probably, I think, going to lose quite in a significant fashion? Under, Trump Biden, I said I thought it was going to be close. I don't think it's even going to be close in this race. I think they are going to very much definitively lose this election. Very, very much so. You can see the momentum building behind, Harrison Waltz. Very, very much so. There is not that kind of momentum behind Trump and Vance. So Trump as I think, force, I think eventually he gets pushed out. I think he gets pushed into the political wilderness. I really do think so. I generally do think that the Republicans after this go away, just shove him away. I don't think they will keep him. And then what do you do with the MAGA lot? Sort of the same thing I think will happen to Trump. I think now, after this, you're going to get, like I say, quote, the sensible Republicans. They're going to come back on force and just say, not only did, remember, before this, the big, November election, but prior to this, they've lost 2 other recent elections, I believe, like the House and the Senate, where Trump and the MAGA movement were saying, oh my God, we're going to have this big red wave. We're going to have this big red wave. That did not materialize. So here you have a guy who is now a consummate loser. He might have won in 2016, but he did not win in 2020. He did not prove to be good either, or any of his candidates that he personally even handpicked win in some of these states where there was going to be this massive red wave. Didn't end up happening. And at some point, the Republicans will just go, we're done. We're done with you. Because that's what happened, again, looking at, UK politics, that's what eventually happened to Boris Johnson. Yeah, he might have had that huge wave and that big win in 2019. But after that was just loss after loss after loss, scandal, slipping in the polls, to eventually there was just one scandal too many, and the Conservatives just said, no, enough is enough. We're getting rid of you. Even now, you look where Boris Johnson is. No one, if you would have said that Boris, if you would have said to people in 2019, after Boris Johnson's massive win, oh yeah, by 2024, Boris Johnson is not only not going to be the Conservative leader, but he's no longer going to be a Conservative MP and is very much going to be on the outside of the party. People would have turned around at you and laughed and just pointed at their massive, victory at 2019. So I do not believe that the GOP is going to tolerate Trump. I don't believe that they are going to tolerate any more of these MAGA people. And I expect probably brewing, just like we are seeing brewing at the moment in our own Conservative Party over here, a potential massive internal civil war. Because if you cannot run a candidate like Trump, who is meant to be the God King Emperor walking through this election as if it was going to be walking through a spider web, you've got to look at seeing why it was wrong, what happened, why did they lose. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the reason why the Republicans are losing is Trump and MAGA. Because as a lot of Democrats are finally just pointing out, they're weird. And look at how many, like, conservative commentators in America are just freaking out over being called weird. Like, please stop calling us weird. Well, no, you deserve it because you are weird. You've been weird for quite some time, to be honest. And it's good to actually see the Democrats go on offensive and find something that is actually useful to call their opponents and not shy away from it, but actually go on the offensive on it. And we'll see what happens if there does end up being a civil war in the GOP. I expect there to be one, and I expect it to be very much between the MAGA faction and whatever. Again, sane, again, in quotation marks, sane Republican, because I don't even know what one would generally look like in this day and age. Like I say, I don't follow, American sort of politics, so I have no idea what would be classed as a sane, Republican. Equally, in the Conservative Party, I used to say Tom Tugendhat, sane conservative. Probably not anymore. I think probably like Tobias Elwood, probably maybe the only sane conservative there. Who knows what may happen? Who knows? Maybe the madness is spreading. Maybe eventually it will get to him too. Who knows? But interesting times, I think, for the GOP. Interesting times for the GOP. And I think after this, they're going to go into an absolute full civil war. It's inevitable. I really do think that. And they're just going to end up fighting between each other. But let me know what you think, especially if you are from America. Even if you are a Republican, let me know what you think to that. Because how Trump Vance somehow win this election, I don't see that happening. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.